Welcome back to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. My name is Josh. Let's start with Ryan today. I'm joined by Ryan Esteban, our video producer, and of course the lovely Kathy Baker. How are you guys?
Good.
Kathy, Ryan and I were being pretty nostalgic before we got on camera before. So my question is going to be based around childhood. I want to know, Kathy and Ryan and our guest, who I will introduce in a moment, what was your favorite snack as a child?
Oh, dang.
I stumped you guys on the last episode.
Snack.
Fudge stripe cookies.
All right, you have to explain that. What is that?
Okay, they're cookies, and it's a regular like cookie, and one side is dark chocolate, and the other side has stripes, and it's got a hole in the middle.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
You could put them on your finger.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Good.
I still do that, by the way, just so.
I got two. All right. Dunkaroos.
Oh,
that was for when that was us.
I definitely thought about that.
So I actually, because they came back with them like a couple years ago.
saw, yeah.
Like they had them at 7-Eleven and stuff. Dude, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It does not taste like that one.
No.
And then the other one was Lunchables.
You know, Ryan, your two snacks, they probably have banned from even because of how terrible.
That's a good point.
Well, actually, the remake of the Lunchable is the charcuterie board.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like, it's just
true.
it's a charcuterie board.
It's very true. Mine, I still eat these to this day. Mine is Entenmann's Donuts. Do you guys know the white box store-bought?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Those are put them in the fridge. They get a little cold. That's what I like.
Huh.
Carblicious.
Yes.
Carblicious.
So I'm going to introduce our guest who you guys have seen on the podcast before, and we're going to learn a lot from him as well as what is his favorite childhood snack. Scott Bergmann, Coach Scott Bergmann, who is, since the last time he's been on, is now our broker owner of Realty One Group Authentic, right, Scott?
Absolutely. Yes. We opened up in Omaha, Nebraska in May. Yeah.
So welcome back and congratulations.
Thank you.
Before we get into it, what was your favorite childhood snack?
Ooh, my favorite childhood snack has migrated into one of my favorite adult snacks. And, I want your opinion whether this is a candy or a snack, but fruit roll-ups.
Oh, I don't think it's a candy. I mean,
So it's got to be a snack,
as
right?
a snack,
It's a fruit snack.
I mean, if I could bring on my childhood friends, they would just brag about my parents' pantry because of all the crap that was in it when we were kids. And one of them was the Costco size box of fruit roll-ups.
Fruit roll-ups.
Yeah,
and fruit
so
by the
good.
foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were the house that I went to as a kid at least once a week. What's funny is I bet your friends knew when mom was going grocery shopping.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They all show up Saturday afternoon. Yeah, that's funny. Well, Scott, we love having you on here. You're a wealth of information. You are one of the main people in my life that turned me to love AI because you and I had some conversations. The first,
Whoa! Time out. What did we just hear? What we heard, Kathy? Is that right?
Did he say love and AI in the same sentence?
Yeah.
Yes. Let's stop the podcast here. I have a new highlight of my life marked today, but I love to hear that. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, we could really go into it. Savag and I have been doing some pretty cool stuff, just playing around with different chatbots and AIs, and it's amazing. But I don't want to focus on that today because we will really go down a rabbit hole. We have you here for a specific reason. We have you here to talk about your agent buying process. And I know Kathy has a number of questions to ask you, and I know that we're in a little bit of a different world since last July.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Kathy, do you want to fire us off?
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to talk about. I hope this is the last episode we have to say post-settlement.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfectly honest. I would
Deal.
like, I am so sick of that if we even replace that term with pickleball, because that's another term I'm kind of over, is pickleball.
Pickleball,
But I'm like, and maybe we just make it a drinking game. I'm not sure about that. Which is a whole nother story that I'll tell you about my bad situation in relationship with Elijah Craig over the holidays. But again, that's a totally different story. But I would like to know, Scott, what are you doing and what's a little bit different that you've done Q4 that you see is really making a difference? I'll have to tell you, I talked with a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, just this morning, and she said spring market's here.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
she said that since Sunday, today is Friday, she has 8 contracts, either buyers or listings.
And
Folks, it
yeah.
is the third week of the year. It's the second full week of the year. I mean,
Yeah.
hallelujah. So what are you doing different? What's going to get us ready for the snap?
You bet. You bet. Absolutely. Well, and I can echo that. I was just having this conversation over lunch, how it feels like the spring market is starting a little bit earlier. We're getting more buyer questions, more listing questions, just more interest in general. So if you rolled into 2025, set those goals like you should have, your marathon's going to start a little bit earlier, I predict, than previous years. But yes, I'm with you. I could do away with this post-NAR settlement terminology, because to be honest, the buyer agency representation agreement was always a thing. We've just migrated to a point where it's now a necessity, a requirement. And I think that's you and I had this conversation. I've always used a buyer agency consultation. And I will say wholeheartedly, one of the biggest next steps we are taking, or at least as a brokerage, is the provision, or I would argue the now necessity, of a buyer's agent consultation. Before the NAR changes, you could show up to a property and be a showing agent, right? You could take them on a speed date with the property, not have to sign anything, and you didn't have to ask any of those questions. They got to see the house, you got to meet them, and things could kind of transpire from there. And the pros and cons to that is, agents don't separate. We're not showing agents. My license doesn't say showing agent on it. I don't know about yours, Kathy. They say licensed salesperson. So now we've gotten to a point where agents are challenged to be more than just a showing agent, or have to start earlier than that. And so now one of the biggest questions I've got is, well, my showing's going to go down as a buyer's agent. Well, they shouldn't. You should just be showing stronger buyers. So one of the biggest pivots that we're making locally, and I do truly believe agents should be leaning into and using the amazing tools and resources that we have available to them when it comes to buyer's agency consultation documents, is exactly that. Scheduling a buyer's agent consultation, or, give it a different terminology. I like to use a buyer's agent guidance session. Consultations, I go to my doctor for a consultation. I like to call it a buyer's agent guide session, because at any point in time, I can meet with a buyer and guide them through the process, no matter where they're at in that process. So before, you could just show up to a showing, not have any initial conversation, show them a house, and from that point on, take it and run with it. Now, with the changes, I believe that the top 3% of buyer's agents, top 5%, top 10%, need to have a buyer's agent's guidance session in their back pocket. Because step one should be meeting with that buyer and doing a guidance session. And with that initial conversation and being transparent with that and saying, hey, step one is meeting at my office for a buyer's agent guidance session.
Hey, Scott, you know what? I love the concept of the guide, because we all know that the sales process is storytelling. And we have a hero with a buyer. We know that their problem is they need to find that perfect property. We know our role is the guide. A lot of times we get confused about that, but I love your perspective as, what does the guide mean post-settlement? How do we create that value? What are the steps under the role of the guide or the navigator in that process that, as professionals, regardless of whatever market we're in, we need to make sure that we cover?
Absolutely. So the steps for the guide in what should be the process in 2025 is exactly that: establishing first expertise, and establishing the process itself. Now that you're sitting down with buyers for an employment contract, you need to establish expectations. Just like any job that you've ever done before, you have a job description. Before, agents didn't really have a necessity to provide a job description to the consumers. And with that, you get to sit down with that buyer and provide the services that you offer as a buyer's agent. And opening doors is just one of those services. So you need to be prepared to have services, systems, and processes in place, because in a market like 2025, there's going to be a lot of agents interviewing for buyer's positions, buyer agent positions. And so you need to establish your process, the expectations around you and them, because I think it's very fair. The employment contract is between both of us. It's not just for me. So establish the expectations of what you will do. So for example, do you cover response time with your buyers in that buyer's guidance session? How quickly will you get back to them? What level of information are you providing maybe prior to a showing? Are you pulling all the disclosures? Are you pulling all the information? And you're establishing those expectations for yourself and for them. How do they request showings? For example, I know a lot of agents that just will have their clients send text messages from Zillow. And I'm encouraging agents to use their One app, that your client can request showings fresh out of the One app, and you get those showings immediately. And so
what I love about that, Scott, as the guide or the navigation system, you're really letting them map it out.
Yeah.
You're giving them the control. You're the professional, you're establishing the value, and you're letting them participate. And I think, I think at my age, mine may be a little bit different, but I think certainly Josh and Ryan and even younger would love that participation.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, the tools and resources that we have, the One app, the website, showing, scheduling, remember that gets rolled up in your value proposition, because at some point in that conversation, you need to clearly lay out the expectations for compensation. That's a requirement, bar none. At some point, after you're done providing the value, the expectations, and then the value that you offer, and a lot of your value is going to be in your process, in your system, not just your smile. You have to have a process and system to escort, I guess, concierge these buyers through the journey. And then you get to the point of the employment contract. And with that being said, breaking that employment contract down and having them understand that, yes, they may have to provide compensation to move forward with you and make an offer. So when you get to the point of the employment contract, the buyer's agency agreement, let them know point blank, hey, I've covered what I feel my value is and the expectations for the potential employment contract between both you and I. Did all those terms make sense? And sit back, answer any questions that they have. And then you have to clearly state your value. Whatever percentage that you make the decision on when it comes to your buyer's agency compensation agreement, be prepared to stand by that and represent your value, because just like we may lose listings because of a 0.5% and a 1%, be prepared that if you don't bring enough value to the table, you will potentially lose a buyer based on a 0.5% or a 1%. And making sure that they know that you are also in most areas, now seek the guidance from your MLS and your broker, most areas you still can seek compensation from the seller side, make the request. And you've got to make it very clear to them how you do that. So in the given example, one of my statements to Kathy would be, so Kathy, in our area, I can still seek that compensation out from the seller. And I'm sure that you would prefer me to attempt that first. Is that right?
Yes.
Absolutely. So, okay. So with that, when I go to request these showings for you, I will ask if the seller is going to pay compensation. Okay. And when I bring the information back to you, I'm going to let you know which sellers are and are not offering compensation. And I'll let you make your decision from there. Now, if you do want to move forward with a home in which the seller is not agreeing to compensation, that is an instance where you will be held to that compensation Does that make sense?
It does. And again, the caveat here is make sure you're compliant when
Mhm.
you're having the scripting. You know, Scott, what I love about this and what I love about the attention to detail and how you're articulating everything is I'm sitting here thinking the difference of Waze versus Google when I get directions.
Mhm.
And the difference to me is Waze says in 675 feet, turn left.
Yeah.
And Google says you're going to turn left in approximately 675 feet, and it's not this light, it's the next light, which is
Mhm.
really good for me because when I'm going like 60 miles an hour, I can't judge 675 feet. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh crap, is it this light or the next light? So I love the fact that in navigation, the significance of with any buyer. Is it the buyer that's been driving a long time and has made many left turns, or is it the buyer that's brand new and that you're able
Mhm.
to establish that value, which, by the way, guys, we should have been doing that for a very long time. We
Yeah.
did not need what happened to have happened. We
Yeah.
should have been doing it. But number one, make sure you're compliant when having the compensation discussion. And most significantly, make sure you're establishing an unquestionable value, that you're setting yourself apart, that you're thinking, holy moly, I can't step outside of this room without Scott Bergmann telling me what my
Mhm.
next turn should be.
Mhm. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, um, don't be afraid to put together your own value sheet, your own process sheet around what you specifically provide when it comes to level of responsiveness, mobile app. A lot of these tools and resources, guys, you have for free by being with this brokerage. You may not have used them, but now you can take them, put them in your repertoire. They hold a huge value in simplifying the process for buyers. And you can pretty much grab every tool we have in the one tool chest, put it on a sheet and say, this is all you're getting with me. You know, look at what I have to offer. And guys, you get that just by wearing the most amazing colors in the world. So be prepared, be proactive in clearly defining your value to a buyer. And I'd probably lead with that before you lead to the employment contract. Because to be honest, I've never gotten a job without interviewing. And in
Right.
that interview, I have to answer questions. I have to
I,
be
I
prepared to answer questions.
I love that. And I have often asked the question, do you think a real estate transaction is an event or a process? And it's
Ooh,
amazing
that's
how
a
many
good one.
consumers think it's an event. And they think we go and do this and we're done. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not, it's a process. And the process can either be blood and guts or ease and elegance.
Yeah.
And that blueprint, that footprint, that roadmap
Yeah.
is what determines just how dang bloody it gets.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that you're doing that, you're articulating that. I love the fact that you alluded to checklist. I love that physical look, whether it be digital, where
Mm-hmm.
they can go online and see the boxes of, oh my goodness, this is what is being provided, versus, well, we might do this or we might do that, or you got to turn left somewhere up here, just when it feels good, turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Scott, I think you've given our entire audience and everyone that's listening and watching basically a script. And so my final question for you to frame this entire conversation, is there an AI that someone can use to take this episode and actually pull a script from it?
Absolutely. So, and if you have Chat GPT, which I'm pretty sure is now everybody's Google in their pocket, and if you have the pro version, the pro version has, I don't know if you've noticed it, they have extensions,
Yeah.
Chat GPT extensions.
Yeah.
So if you click on those extensions and you just type in YouTube, you know, it will bring up 2 or 3 YouTube video summarizers. So if you're listening to the podcast, jump over to the YouTube, grab the YouTube link for this video. You can take that YouTube link, drop it in that extension, just paste it and press enter. It will extract our script, everything that we just covered, and any other YouTube video. Y'all, we used to watch YouTube videos to make things easier to do. Now we can get AI to analyze a YouTube video to make things even easier. And I would do that with this piece of content so you can extract the script.
That's what I've literally been sitting waiting to ask that question, because that's what I want. If nothing else, do exactly what Scott just said with this episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Not only is he agreeing to AI. Now, Scott, he's promoting AI. What did you do to
I don't even know this
I
guy.
mean,
like
this
magic
is
dust or
this is the last thing I'll say, and then we will. I promise we'll break this into 2 episodes. But Savag and I have been just like, we have the pro account too with ChatGPT. He sends me a message the other day where we were trying to add some HTML to one of our sites, and he built it in chat. And Savag,
Yep.
just to Savag can do a lot of things. He cannot do web design, and he built it. He literally built code via ChatGPT. It was really impressive.
Yeah, yeah. It's unlimited. You don't be afraid to role play with AI for your buyer's consultation. So if you're agents, if you have ChatGPT, there's a button that you can click to talk to it. Ask it to role play with you.
Yeah,
Ask
totally.
it to be a
I think
buyer.
we need to do another episode on that.
Yeah, I
I would
agree.
like to know more.
I agree. I think we'll bring Scott back. We'll get Savag in here and a couple of the other, heads that know this better than most. But as far as this episode, Scott, thank you so much.
bet.
Yeah, this is some good stuff. I think people are really going to be able to utilize this.
Great. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the One-on-One podcast, powered by Realty One Group. For more information, questions, or concerns, please reach out to coaching@realtyonegroup.com.